a brand new episode of Who's in My Head. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu on the other side. I know majority of y'all are finishing watching that game one of that Toronto Blue Jays series. What a game it was all around. Pitching, defense, aggressive base running, offense. I mean, it was a well-rounded game for the Houston Astros. We'll a bit more about that game because, of course, that's just a refresh through the minds. And, of course, hopefully everybody had a great Easter, with family, friends, loved ones, all of that. So hopefully everybody had a great weekend. But, Ken, how was your weekend, man?
It was great. Made some steaks over the weekend. They turned out pretty good. I just hanged out with family. Just it was a great Easter, great weekend.
Nice, yeah. I'm TFTI to the stakes, man.
Yeah, it's expensive. I just got like two little small ones.
Nice, nice. Yeah, same thing with those, just like a little bit of barbecue sandwiches here, and look, I saw the on Friday night there, and yeah, it was a great weekend with family. It's always great being with the family. So hopefully everybody else spend time with their family and their friends on Easter weekend. But title of this episode is going to be Astros went back-to-back games, episode 251, because the Astros finally, after going win, loss, they have finally won back-to-back games for the first time. They tied, I believe, the MLB record of 14 games straight,
Mhm.
back and forth, and wins and losses. But yeah, and it was a great team in the San Diego Padres. And let's go with the objectives real quick. We'll talk about that series. Talk about the preview of these last two games against the Toronto Blue Jays before they leave Dyke Park. Some Astros injury updates because there are some key arms coming too. And then there's a little small setback with one of the pitchers. And maybe you can get through a little bit around the horn. But first, Angel, before we get started, let everybody know where they can follow us, where they can find us on social and podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us if you look on top of my head. You can find us on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. For X, TikTok, and YouTube, that's at Full Steam Ahead. For Instagram, it's FSA Full Steam Ahead. You could also listen to us at any time, anywhere, wherever you care at Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. But yeah, let's talk about this. First, let's talk about this Blue Jay series. Like you said, because it just happened, and then we'll talk about the San Diego Padres series. Go ahead.
Yeah. Man, it was a pitcher's duel. Kevin Gossman had, I believe, coming into this game a 0.77 ERA. He's been, no, take that back. That's Chris Bassett that the Astros are going to face in game two. But Gossman has been pitching really well for the Blue Jays. That's why they have a good record, 12-10 record in one of the toughest American League divisions, I would say, in baseball. And the Astros did a really good job getting into him, I believe, in the middle of part of that game. And it started with the bottom of the order, I want to say, in this game, because I got the stats right here in front of me. I just love where Cam Smith and Jake Myers are placed in this lineup. Obviously, Myers was batting fifth day. Spada had a rich his lineup, gave Christian Walker a day off. But going to the bottom of the order of this game, Smith, 1 for 3 with a run. Brendan Rodgers, 4 with 2 RBIs in a run. And Zach DeZenzo, who played first base today over Christian Walker, giving him that breather. 2 for 3 with a double, an RBI, and 2 runs. Why I say that in the bottom of the order, because that just helps the top of the order when it comes up. For instance, Jose Altuve getting that double down the line, scoring 2, as well as Jordan Alvarez getting an RBI. Isaac Paredes getting an RBI. Between the top three, Altuve, Alvarez, and Paredes had 4 RBIs combined. Rodgers, 2 RBIs. Zach DeZendo, 1 RBI. But that's what you would want in this offense. I believe the only player in this game that did not get a hit was Jake Myers. And Jake Myers has been hitting the ball really well, but it just sets the tone not just for this bottom part, but getting the top of the order with some RBI production and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a full team effort to get past Kevin Gossman. And speaking at the bottom of the lineup, Zach DeZenzo, whenever his number was caught today, he doesn't give many at bats, but really played phenomenally. Taking the ball the other way, hitting doubles to right field. That was a really great at bat. And just 2 for 3, he said?
Yes, 2 for 3. Yeah, 2 for 3 with a double and an RBI and 2 runs.
Yeah, and he clutched up when he needed to be. So it was a really great outing for everybody. Cam Smith, I know a lot of people were worried about him, but the past few games he looks pretty good in the play, taking a little bit more mature at bats. Uh, and I think he's kind of earned because I know he's been kind of flip flopping between the ninth hole, seventh hole, eighth hole, just kind of there. But I I kind of like where he's at too in that seventh spot. I think it takes a little pressure off him as well. But I think he found his confidence back in the ninth hole. Just ninth hole, not worried about doing too much, just getting on base to get for the top of the order, and it's really showed pretty good.
Well, yeah, actually today Cam Smith was in the seventh spot. Like I said,
Yeah.
Joe Spot did restructure this lineup today, having Jose Altuve as lead off, and then switching Jordan Alvarez and Isak Paredes. And he
What do you think
explained
about
why.
that? Oh,
I like it just to see, and Alvarez did testify on that in the beginning of the season, spring training, talking about if you're going to put me at one spot in this order, I would like to be comfortable in that one spot only and not move. But Spot is seeing it as like, well, we got to get the big man going. He hasn't been hitting really well, maybe hitting into some bad luck as well, but giving him some at bats, some opportunities. Isak Paredes has been doing a good job getting RBI production here and there, and bringing in Jose Altuve or whoever's in the bottom of the lineup. You saw that in that series against San Diego, which we'll talk here in a second. But I thought it was a good move. It was interesting to see Jake Myers in the 5 spot. Never thought I would see him there. Of course, Jerry Pena, as of right now, is hitting in cleanup in the 4 spot. So I think Espada is just trying to get this offense flowing, trying to get them comfortable, trying to get them some hits some way, somehow. And shoot, 7 runs today for the Astros. I think it was a pretty good job on his part.
Yeah, and it just shows that this offense, when they get going, they can score numbers in bunches, and it all, I think a big key was, Christian Walker kind of struggling, running out kind of struggling, but they kind of got some hits there. But also the bottom of the lineup being able to contribute there, because there's been years where the Astros 1 through 6, 1 through 7 is phenomenal, and then the last 2, 3 batters, it was kind of hard to make anything happen there. So like when it was like 7, 8, 9 in lineup, many people knew it was gonna be a 1, 2, 3 inning, and then ruin any scoring chance there. Or when the 7, 8, 9 guys had runners on, it was really hard for them to score runs. But if this bottom lineup can keep producing like it is this year, I think better times are coming for this Astros. Like I know they're struggling to find a consistent offense, but they've showed glimpses that when this offense gets going, it's a good offense.
And I've said to when we talked about what this offense, what this lineup should be like, and I've been very adamant saying Cam Smith to be at that bottom part of the lineup. They've done a really good job, and we're not sure if Myers going to hit 300 this season. We're not sure if Cam Smith's going to hit 275 or 300 as a rookie this year. But the way they've been hitting as of right now, last games for Cam Smith, 6 for 24, got 4 runs, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 1 walk. Of course, the strikeout rate is pretty high, but like I said, he's a rookie, he's learning. But the on-base percentage, 308, slugging 500. Myers as well, hitting over 300 in his last games. So it's looked really well. Plus, the stolen base is not to mention on Jake, which we're going to share our overall thoughts about the San Diego series and just in general. But them two right there, platoon in that bottom part of the order, really helps the guys on top, like Altuve again, some RBI situations. He's against some RBI situations. If you got 2 outs, bring in Jordan Alvarez with that situation and see if he can knock something down. So they did a really good job as the bottom part of the order. Like the Astros are 11-11. Christian Walker hasn't hit really well to start off the season. Jordan Alvarez is still struggling. Yainer Diaz is still struggling. So just wait to if these guys get hot in that middle part of the lineup where mostly the RBI production come through, man, this team can really knock on some doors and look really good in this AL West.
Yeah, I think part of the record, even with this struggling offense, has been great pitching surrounding his Astros, helping his Astros team, both starting and bullpen work. I think it's been really phenomenal. I know there's been a few rough starts here and there, but for the most part, pitching has been phenomenal. And then also Jeremy Pena being able to get on base. Like he's moved up to the 4th hole. I know that was kind of when we talked about last podcast about moving Christian Walker to 5th. Well, who was going to bat 4th? I know you say Yainer Diaz. I said Jeremy Pena, but you called Christian Walker being able to move down a little bit, and I think he kind of kind of takes attention off there. But for Jeremy Pena off that fourth spot hasn't missed a beat either. I think Jeremy Pena is one of those people, so wherever you put them, he's going to hit and do what he has to do. So if he can continue on, that's a bonus for the Astros too.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, the speed that he shows, and we're have a lot to talk about, but just talking a little bit here that Pena has, I believe he has a hitting streak, if I'm not mistaken, going on right now.
Does he? Let me see.
I'm not 100% sure. 7 hits right now in the last 7 games, 7 for 25, home run, 3 RBIs, 3 walks. His on base percentage right now is at a 357, and that's really good for him. And just to throw a little bit on it, I mean, field single, he beat out on Man Machado trying to throw it first.
12-game hitting streak.
And that was 12-game streak, yeah. So, like you mentioned, I mean, it's looked really good. Of course, when you put a guy in the cleanup hole, you're looking at guys that produce in power situations. And, of course, Jerry Pena is not your typical power guy, but he does barrel the ball really well to start off this season so far.
Yeah. I mean, he's been great. And Altuve being Altuve too, hitting above 300 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Or he dropped a little bit.
I don't have that in front of me. But when you're talking about that, we can't forget
about
the pitching.
303.
303?
303.
303. Yeah. Yes. Let's focus on the pitching, though, because you mentioned pitching, bullpen as well. I think the Astros bullpen, they lead in the American League as of right now. Starting pitching, this is without Christian Javier. This is without Luis Garcia. This is without Lance McCullers Jr., JP France. And we have a 2 punch with a struggle. He's a rocky guy as of right now for Valdez. If Valdez could get his stuff going, man, that 1-2 punch is deadly. And right now, Hunter Brown is showing he is the ace of this staff. And I had mentioned this in the beginning of the season. This guy is going to get some Cy Young votes this year. And if he continues to pitch the way he did today, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 12 swing misses, and he pushed his scoreless streak to 24 innings. 24 of not allowing any runs. The last time he allowed a run was in the first inning of that Twins game at Minnesota. And after that, he's just been perfect, man. He's been really making his pitches well. Nice pitches he's on today and against the good Blue Jays lineup that consists of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a hot George Springer, a Anthony Santander, who's come off a good season from last year. Bo Chet. It's a good lineup. One of the toughest teams, I would say, in the American League as well. So he had these guys really off balance the whole time.
Yeah, and the shutout just is due to how great, again, Hunter Brown has been, and so is his bullpen. Like you were mentioning the stats with Hunter Brown, 24 straight scoreless innings. But the Astros, like you said, the Astros bullpen has a 2.87 ERA, which is best in the AL. I'm sure that number just went down a little bit with Forrest Whitley, keeping
nice
the
to
shutout
see him
going.
back in action as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know coming back from injury, but the Astros have I can't believe I'm saying this because it has never been the case with the Astros bullpen, but they have a lefty dominant, like a lot of lefties that dominate in the bullpen, and they have 4 lefties, right? And Brian King, Josh Hader, Corbin, and Souza. They have combined for a 1.00 ERA this season. So pretty phenomenal stuff there.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time the Astros had 2 lefties in the bullpen.
Yeah. Much less 4.
It could be last year. I mean, when did they hire? 23? 20.
I think this is what, Hader's second year?
But I mean, they've done a really good job. But back to Hunter Brown real quick. 96 pitches. And like I mentioned, he mixes pitches really well against this Blue Jays team. 19 going against right-handed batters, 16 going against left-handed batters was his 4-seamer. Used his sinker against righties, which was his second best pitch today. Change-ups. A lot of movement on the lefty side of it. A lot against Anthony Santander if you saw his at-bats. 10 sliders, 8 no curves, and a cutter. He used all 6 of his pitches in his arsenal really well today, and it just continues to show how important this guy is to this rotation. And if Hunter Brown's off this rotation, of course, nobody wants to see an injury happen, but I feel like the Astros starting pitching would struggle because he's been that good for him. He's really dominant throughout this start season.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree with everything what you said. I think without Hunter Brown, this pitching staff. I mean, with Framber Valdez's inconsistencies, will not be as dominant as it was. So as it is actually. So I agree.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, if they could get Framber Valdez being consistent and that 2022 Framber that he was, like I said, this 1-2 punch is very deadly. You can't if that can happen, you would have to go back, I would say, to 2019 when the Astros had Verlander and Cole. But it just depends if Brown continues to pitch the way he's been pitching, and as well as a factor of Valdez being able to be consistent throughout his starts this season.
Yeah.
It's going to be very important for that to happen for this Houston team that wants to go deep in the postseason this year. But like I mentioned, this title is Astros win back-to-back games, and they've won it in the San Diego series. My fault. What do you think about this series? Can you describe how this series was for the Houston Astros going against I think is the best team in baseball as that going into Friday night and winning 2 out of 3? It was almost they could have won all 3 games, but I think you got to feel good winning 2 out of 3 against the Padres.
Yeah, I think I would say what stands out is pitching. Like you said, this was a hot team in the San Diego Padres, and to limit them to 8 runs in a series, that's pretty phenomenal stuff. Game 1 was kind of dicey, but the Astros came on top. But after that, they only 9 runs. They scored 2 in game 2 and 3 in game 3. So I think being able to kind of win that pitchers doing Michael King was the biggest one out of there, because that kind of secured the season, showed that the Astros can compete with top dogs, and that's what it showed. So I like it. It was a great series.
Yeah, I think you got to feel good about this series. They, as of right now, the Astros are 3-4 this homestand, and this series specifically wasn't without their top dogs and the rotation. It wasn't without Hunter Brown. I will say it was with Framber Valdez, my mistake, but I mean with Ryan Gusto being the first year
Shout out to him.
rookie. Yeah, exactly. Hayden Wesneski, who's continuing to pitch really well in this season, and you're going to get, like I said, going against a star-studded lineup with a 3-time batting title champion, Luis Ariz, which hopefully everything is okay. I think he's going on the 7-day IL, if I'm not mistaken. But prayers to him. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. I mean, Tatis really played good this series. You can't take that away from him. So the way that they pitched in this series was very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's break it down real quick. In game 1, won that game 6-4. And you mentioned the last episode with the preview of Hart really falling the wheels off the wagon in the first inning, and the Astros kind of didn't do it in the first inning, but they did in the second inning. And Hart got hit pretty good. He honored a single, Jake Myers a double, and then Cam Smith comes up and rockets a 3-run shot to the Crawford boxes, and that got the game going. And it was Cam Smith's first career multi-home game. You saw that first home run. It was a home run in all 30 ballparks. The second home run, that's a Daikin Park home run. I believe that was only 1 out of 30 stadiums.
Yeah.
That ball would have been gone.
So his first home run was 30 out of 30. That was a shot. And then, yes, you're right. The second home run was 1 out of 30. Only home run in Daikin Park.
But like I said, he's been making some early at-bats. And yes, the strikeout rate is pretty high for this kid, but he puts up good beats. He hits the ball really well. Like I said, he hits it all areas, down the line, in the gap, left, center, right. He's shown like he's a mature player that he's been in these situations before. And we've talked about it. You can go to college days and play in the Cape Cod League, and it's just kind of matured him through them times. That's a big one right there, because of course that's like the granddaddy of all college baseball. And like I said, I don't think the kid is afraid under the lights to play against the top teams in MLB.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, Cam Smith becomes the 6th youngest Astro to post a multi-homer game. Do you want to take a gander of who are the other 5 that are younger than him?
Okay, I feel like Yordan Alvarez has to be on top of that list.
Yeah, Yordan Alvarez for sure.
Okay, I feel like Carlos Correa.
Carlos Correa is another one.
Okay. Let's see. We got George Springer on there.
No, surprisingly.
Wow. No Springer Dinger on there. Give me one hint.
1960s.
Jesus, man. Will you? God. Jimmy Wynn.
No.
Yeah, I'm not gonna that 1960s. Like that's
Yeah.
Cody went to the church and the Astros.
So the youngest is Rusty Staub. He was 20 years
Oh,
old
okay.
and with 81, 81 days. Carlos Correa, like you said, is the second youngest. John Mayberry is the third youngest. Joe Morgan, the fourth
Uh,
youngest.
just no. But I
Yeah,
didn't think he was a power hitter.
yeah. He hit him with a home run when he was 21 years old. Jordan Alvarez and then Cam
Catch
Smith. Yeah,
elite company right there.
yeah,
At least in,
absolutely.
in franchise history. Of course,
Yeah.
Joe Morgan is a Hall of Famer. Jordan Alvarez could be trending to that direction. Carlos Correa, that would be an interesting debate, Hall of Famer or not.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley Staub too is a Hall of Famer. I'm not 100% sure on that. However, I mean, the offense was really well in this game. An aggressive base running was a huge one. And I don't know if you saw this of the replay. Big Myers in that single in the gap. Oscar Gonzalez cut that ball really good. But Jeremy Pena, I don't know what's with him and Tony Perez Chica, but that boy just he just ignored the stop sign again. I don't know if he saw it. And Jose Iglesias wasn't paying attention. He thought there was going to be a play at second. So he put the glove down. And by the time he turned around, Pena was already pretty close to home plate, slid, and scored that. It was a big insurance run, especially because Luis Ariz would hit that 2-run homer off of Brian King, which King did allow his first pair of runs this season. He's been dominant. His stat real quick. First 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, 2 runs, a walk. ERA is still good, 1.93. And like this lefty group in this bullpen has done a fabulous job, not just going against the lefty situation, but going in situations with going against right-hand batters.
Yeah. Speaking of like kind of when I ignoring your like third baseman, but like the plays at home, I don't know if you saw Enzo slide at home this game against the Blue Jays. The ball was in front of him, beat him, but
Second
kind of
base too.
yeah, second base as well. It's like back to back crucial slides when the ball was beat. Kind of just like avoided the tag with his body and put his hand in there.
Yeah, I mean, they've just done a fabulous job with base running, and aggressiveness this season has looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you want to point that to Joe Espada, to Tony Perez Chica, to management. It's kind of like a little bit of everything. They've just done a really good job bringing Perez Chica here, bringing his base running philosophy to the team. Espada did preach about that last season, that he wanted some aggressive on the base pass, and what they're doing this season, yes. Jeremy Pena did ignore the stop sign twice, but hey, they turned out to run, and they were crucial runs in both those games against the Cardinals and the Padres.
Yeah, when it works, you get the high fives and claps, but when it doesn't, I'm sure the coach is gonna be telling him, "Hey, don't ignore that stop sign again," or something like that.
Yeah, and then Jose Altuve in that game, I mean, not too much, but Toronto, the first inning, he was trying to steal base. He had a great job. I don't know why Alvarez didn't swing at that. I'm guessing it was a good pitch to hit. But I don't know if they deeped him at second. It was a line drive to the field, caught it and double him up at first base.
Yeah, well, there was nobody on the base. I think he just got a misread on that one.
Yeah, but going into game 2, and it looked like a Padres win in this beginning of this game. Michael King was cruising. Hayden Wisniewski just pitching a really good game, only allowing 2 earned runs. But finally, the Astros would get the King. He was, like I said, he was going through the 5th like nothing. And the 6th inning, Isao Paredes, one of the best, I wouldn't say the best, but he is a great player to have to play with play discipline as far as going with quality at bats, working the count, fouling pitches off, and sure enough, 7-pitch walk start off that inning. Guys get out, 2 outs. Walker comes up, and this is what he really needed, I would say, because he's been struggling, and he got a hold of a sweeper that They were setting up outside, just didn't go outside, broke in hard plate. Walker sat on it, took it to the Crawford boxes. And that was huge because it tied the game. Michael King would come out of the game later. Saw Paredes, and not to mention, this Padres bullpen has been phenomenal to start this season. Jesus Estrada has been good. Adrian, I remember his last name, but lefty
More,
pitcher for the Padres.
more Keon, something like that.
Something like that, yes. And then, of course, Robert Suarez have been pitching. 3 guys have been pitching lights out, not to mention Willie Peralta, too, in that bullpen. And the Astros were able to get to Estrada, courtesy of Isaac Paredes. Quality at bat in the book. Foul pitch, working the count, a pitch at ends up with the bloop RBI center, scores the go-ahead run, and that just did it all for the Astros. Josh Hader getting another save under his belt. And Isaac, that's why I truly want Redis in that second spot of this Astros batting order, because he works the count, puts up good at bat. Yes, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some strikes, some walks. And sure enough, the bloop RBI single right up the Astros win this game and claim the series against the Padres.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the guy who's been great in this lineup twice. He's talked about it, being able to take pitches, like you said. I didn't mind the change of Jordan Alvarez start by this. I think it worked out for Joe Espada here, but I agree. I kind of like start by this in the second spot just so you can get on base and set up a big hit from Jordan Alvarez. If with the aggression that Jose Altuve has, he gets on base. So by his ability to work a walk, that's right, 2 runners on with no outs for Jordan Alvarez in a perfect world, right? That could happen. If he doesn't get it in, you got Jeremy Pena or you got Yanni Diaz, Christian Walker behind him to get the other opportunity with less than 2 outs. So if this time can just get going, I think once it starts flowing, it's going to be pretty. They can start putting runs like this, like they did.
That's what I'm saying with Alvarez. Slowly coming up. Same goes for Diaz. Same goes for Walker. Them are the crucial guys in your order that need to produce with runners in scoring position.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Astros fans have seen it with Jordan Alvarez. They saw a glimpse of that with Yainer Diaz last year. The power numbers wasn't there, but still hitting with contact, hard contact as well, with a 300 batting average. And then you got a Christian Walker that can give you about 25 and kind of in that range of 25 to 30 home runs, 80 something RBIs. And that's what Houston was hoping for with Walker. But as of right now, it's just been slow for all 3 guys. And, Walker's just done a good job at defense. Yes, there were some plays that he didn't handle really well at first in this series. And you can't blame it on him. It's just baseball. But if those 3 guys, like you mentioned, if they could get going, this team is going to be a deadly team heading into the dog days of summer, heading into September, and making that final push, that bigger push, heading into the postseason to carry that momentum on to capture their 3rd World Series title.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how everything pans out mid-season, mid-June. Usually June is the actual. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah. And game 3, it was kind of the opposite. Of course, they won that one in 3-2 on Saturday. Well, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, they did capture the L and lost 3-2. Not a great throw on Mauricio Dubon. And that scored a run in that play. It was error at the end of the day. But I think Dubon had all the time in the world to make that play at first base. He kind of rushed it. Walker tried to pick it, just couldn't pick him up. And Fernando Tatis scored, which like I said, he was he was on the bags throughout this whole series. And yeah, that's like I said, the defense was good. It wasn't great, though. Like we said, walks, errors lead to runs, and sure enough, that's what happened. It could have been a tied game, could have been 2-2, could have been a different outcome, but just didn't happen. Offense, real quick, Mauricio Dubon with a RBI bloop single. I guess that torpedo bat is working very well for him. And Jordan Alvarez, RBI sac fly. Bases loaded. I think you were thinking with the big man, you're hoping for either a grand slam, a base hit that was either a double, a single with 2 RBIs coming in. However, just did not plan out, and that's what the Astros were able to capture with just 2 RBIs in this game.
Yeah. Again, San Diego's a good team. They have a great pitching staff too. They have great analytics, and it's just didn't work the Astros way. But even though they win that last game, like we said in the beginning, great series for the Astros, being able to take 2 out of 3 from San Diego. It's baseball, like there's 162 games. You're not gonna win all the games. Like it's not like basketball where one team goes like 60 wins and or almost 70 wins, right? So, because they play 82 games, but like it's gonna be you're gonna take your L's, and I think winning series is what's gonna get you to the playoffs, and that's what they did here.
Yeah, this series particularly though with the Padres, a great series. That was a series that they really needed to win, and kind of like phase away that Seattle series where they should have won that series, but they took care of San Diego winning going against a great team
Yeah.
in the Padres. But overall thoughts. Let's start off with Taylor Scott giving up that solo home run in Game 3, and in the game before he pitched a really good outing, didn't allow any runs. But then Joe Spada asked him to go for Game 3 and gave up that go ahead solo home run. I believe it was to Fernando Tatis Jr. Do we think that the Astros, and this is very, very early on, like I'm already moving 2 steps ahead going into the trade deadline. Do the Astros need to look into maybe looking at another reliever that's right-handed pitcher in that bullpen? I know David Robertson, as of right now, is still a free agent. What's your thoughts on that? Because we did mention they have a lot of lefties in that bullpen, but at righties, when it comes to right-handed relievers, they only got Brian Abreu as their right-handed relievers.
As right now, Forrest Wheatley's there too, so that's like another right-handed arm.
Yeah, he just came back.
Yeah, so I think, and he got Sean Dubin looming too. So I think they're fine. Like we said earlier, they have one of the best bullpens in the American League. The lefties have been lights out too. Uh, I, I think at the moment they're fine. Once they get their resources back, you might also have either Ronald Blanco or Gusto in the bullpen once the other two stars get healthy. So I mean, I think they're at a good spot right now. To me, with Tyler Scott, I think it's just the effectiveness of his secondary pitches. His fastball, it's gonna blow you by fastballs 92, but he does a really good job of locating it. But a big change from last year is his slider. His slider was his bread and butter pitch last year. He had a 30% whiff rate on that put away pitch, 21%. He had a opponent batting average of 227 last year. This year, it's completely different. This year on his slider, he has a batting average of 400, a slugging of 1,000, and 0% put away. Like he hasn't been able to put anybody away with a slider, and that's been the difference maker. I think once he gets the feel for his secondary pitches, I think Taylor Scott has a chance to be back like last year.
Yeah, I'll even add on just a little bit of that. And the reason why is command. His command hasn't
Yeah.
been very sharp in some of these appearances coming out of the bullpen. You saw it in Seattle. You saw it in this series against San Diego. Of course, Game 2 looked really good, but Game 3, when you make a mistake to a all-star player like Tatis, he's not gonna waste any time, and
Yeah.
he's gonna take full advantage of it. And sure enough, that's what he did. Dead center, by the way, um, by the Platinum Glove winner. So yeah, I agree. They got Board come back too soon. I believe we have the update on him. Sean Dubin pretty sure is going to be coming back. You see Luis Contreras. You still got Nick Hernandez
Mhm.
in Sugarland. So if you need some guys that to eat some innings, look no further to the 2 guys in Sugarland. But like I mentioned, and like you mentioned, Ort's on his way back. Forrest just recently came back, and them 2 guys are going to be very critical in the open for the Astros regarding to the right-handed relievers.
Yeah.
Moving on to the offensive part of this, and what made the Astros so effective in this series offensively was the 2-out piece of hitting. They just did a fabulous job just doing that against the Padres. And we're going to throw some breakdowns real quick. Smith's 3-run homer was on a 2-out situation. Yander Diaz's RBI single between the Bermuda Triangle of left, center, and shortstop. RBI single with 2 outs. Jake Myers' RBI single that should have been, honestly, maybe an out at home. It was courtesy of Jeremy Pena's speed. That was with 2 outs. Christian Walker's game-tying 2-run homer to the Crawford boxes. 2 outs. A pitch at bat from Isak Paredes. go ahead, bloop single, 2 out piece of hitting, and that's what helped Houston propel these games. Game one, game two. You didn't see it in game three, but game one and game two. You can even throw a little bit of game one of this Toronto's Blue Jays game. It was 1 out, but I mean the Astros were hitting in all cylinders, and when you could do that with 2 outs with runners in scoring position, that just helps the team out a lot, and it helps the pitchers a lot more.
Yeah, and half of those were from the new guys, Smith, Walker, Paredes. This is a situation. 2 out hitting was a situation he actually kind of struggled last year, and there was a bunch of rallies that were dead because guys couldn't get that final like that bloop single or that just down up the middle hit with 2 outs or down in the count. So it's a really good bright spot for the Astros offense. And again, they're 11-11 right now. It might not seem pretty, but I think once the bats wake up, it'll be a pretty dangerous team. Like I've been saying all day.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, the bottom of the order. And that's who we're going to go with in the next one. Jake the Rake Myers. He's looked really good offensively. And of course, his glove is a gold glove potential. He could win his first gold glove this season because he made a good play on Sunday against the Padres. But as of right now, hitting wise, I mean, like I said, I don't think he's going to hit 300. It can happen, but you're getting good production from your 8-9 guys or 7-8, however you want to put them on the lineup, the bottom of the batting order in general. You're getting great production from that. And Jake Myers is the one that's starting it. Last 7 games, 348 slash line, 348 on base percentage, 435 slugging. He's 8 for 23, 2 RBIs, 4 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, but 7 stolen bases so far this season. I believe he's second, tied with, I don't know who he's tied with, but he's tied for second in stolen bases in the American League. And you get that extra bag just helps out the guys on top of the batting order like Jose Altuve, Isaac Paredes, Jordan Alvarez. I think it's just a plus seeing Jake being able to hit and solidify himself to show that he's capable of hitting in some difficult situations. I mean, runners in scoring position. If you got to get him on to get a leadoff single just to get a runner on, that's what he's doing, and he's doing a great job so far. Can he continue it? You just have to see.
Yeah, so he's actually tied for second with 2 other players, and that's Andres Jimenez, who's on the other side of the dugout right now with the Blue Jays. Luis Robert Jr. with the White Sox, and in the American League, Tampa Bay's Jake Mangum is in first place with 8. You're on mute.
He's done a really good job. I mean, the speed has shown. Look at that, 7 stolen bases. Like I mentioned, you're getting an extra 90 feet. You're putting yourself in a good position to score with the runner, like I said, second, third. If you're a runner on second, you got the speed to score on home with a bloop single. So he's just doing a really good job putting himself in a good position for his teammates to bring him in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he had a really turnaround season. I know he's received a lot of criticism over the years on his bats, but I think this just goes to show the patience the Astros had for him, because I know many Astros fans were like, oh, trade Jake Myers, he can't hit. But obviously the Astros are not going to listen to that. They know what they got, and it's showing right now.
Yeah, it's the same thing that goes for Chas McCormick and him. It's always been like, okay, well, who is Dana Brown going to keep between both them two? And so far he's keeping both of them. But, I mean, potentially it could look like McCormick could be moving on. I'm not sure. I'm not speculating anything. But the way Myers has been playing so far, it kind of hurts McCormick of getting any playing time, especially the way Smith's been playing, especially the way, of course, Altuve's going to man left field for most of these games. Zach DeCentral just had a good game against Toronto. So it's putting a tough spot for McCormick to find some ABs, find some playing time, at least start a game here and there. And Myers is just putting pressure on the coaching staff to do stuff like that.
Yeah. We'll see how everything turns out. But so far, great series. And they actually started this Toronto series with a bang too, 7-0, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and before we move on to the Toronto pitching, last on the overall thoughts, starting pitching, they did not panic. All of them gave up 2 earned runs. If we do the math right here correctly, which I'm going to try to do in my head, 7 plus 6, 13, plus 9, 22. Starting pitching has given up 22 hits, 600 runs total, 4 walks total, and only struck out 8 batters.
Yeah.
8 batters. Ryan Gusto didn't give up a walk. Hayden Wesneski just gave up 1. Framber Valdez gave up 3 walks, but that's a quality start in the book because he did pitch 6 innings. So what I mentioned that they did not panic. They gave up a lot of hits, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
they did not give up a lot of runs.
A lot of jams they had to work through, and the fact that they were able to. Yeah, because like when I was writing in Gusto's stats for today, for the pitcher, I was like 9 hits, and I was like only giving up 2. That's a win right there. Yeah. Like I know the strikeout wasn't the big pitch, but being able to fight through jams and stuff like that. I think if he can limit those hits down, I think you can see more innings out of Gusto. He only threw 68 pitches, I think. So
no, it had to be more than that. Probably 70 if anything.
No, I think I had it down. Yeah, he threw.
Okay, go ahead. Because his first start, it was like 72 pitches, if I'm not mistaken.
He threw 68 pitches.
Wow, 68.
Yeah.
That was 5 innings too.
Yeah. Well, I think he had a 7-pitch inning the first inning.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Oh. But, however, what helps these starting pitchers is letting the defense work behind them. When you got a ground ball pitcher like Framber Valdez, Wesneski, who has some swing and miss stuff, of course, you're going to get some line drives, you're going to get some extra base hits here and there, but you got the defense has done a good job in this series. And yes, I know Christian Walker had a ball go under his glove. A couple of times. Didn't get a scoop on one of them. He's still a Gold Glover. He made an overhead catch going to right field in a crucial game where Jose Iglesias was second base. That ball falls between Smith and Walker. Then Iglesias either scores or he's at third. Just needs a hit to get in. But like I mentioned, only put up a pair of runs. Gave up 16 singles, 6 extra base hits. Padres were 4 for 25 with runners in scoring position in this series. You credit the pitching, you credit the Padres hitting, and it is an all-around well-put game for the Astros because you had your defense work behind you. The starting pitchers didn't panic, like I mentioned, and they did give up a lot of extra base hits. The extra base hits wasn't like 2 RBIs. Manny Machado had an RBI double. Fernando Tatis had 2 solo home runs in the games. So they did a really good job not giving up a lot of runners to score in their outings.
Sorry, I'm just double checking because I think he had a 7-pitch in that first inning. I'm just trying to double check on that one. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
we can go ahead.
Overall this series though, it was just great. 3 for 4. They won 3 out of their 4 games. Of course, they still got 2 more games with Toronto. Looked like a really good homestand for them so far. Cam Smith continues to improve in his game. Yeah. Jay Myers continuing to hit at the bottom of the order, giving that little bit of support just to see if this top of the order can get going. Maybe the switch between Isao Paredes and Jordan Alvarez could be solidified right there and then. Giving Christian Walker that off day, allowing Zach DeZenzo to have a multi-hit game and get that bottom of the order started, scoring that first run for them. This series overall, they looked really.
Yeah, and again, so I did double check. Gusto did have a 7-pitch inning. He threw 4 pitches to Tatis, 1 to Arouse, and 2 to Manny Machado. But being able to. It was, but being able but what I was getting at is being able to do that to the big dogs in San Diego with Tatis, Arouse, and Manny Machado just shows the potential that Ryan Gusto has. I know he gave up 9 hits, but being able to limit the damage and get out of innings really shows that the Astros really have a good one there. Is it time for the pitching preview now?
Yeah, it is.
Bet. So obviously we're not going to do the Monday pitching preview because you saw that one, but on Tuesday it's going to be a 7-10 game, which are night games going on. Usually Wednesday is going to be a day game, but it's a 6:40 start time for Wednesday too. So, but let's start with Tuesday. Chris Bassitt versus Ronel Blanco. Ronel Blanco is 1-2 with a 6.48 ERA. Versus St. Louis, he pitched 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, and 1 strikeout. Again, I think it's the walks and the pitch count getting deep into counts for Renato Blanco. Kind of similar story we've been saying. He threw 88 pitches. Out of those 88 pitches, 42 were in the strike zone. I'm sorry, he threw 42 fastballs, 23 sliders, 17 curveballs, 6 changes, 88 pitches. But what I meant to say was 40 pitches were in the strike zone. Batters throwing at 42 pitches. So what I'm trying to get at is when Ronald Blanco misses, he's not missing, like he's not making a deceiving miss. It's like he's missing way out of the zone that's causing hitters not to chase. So like when he gets that slider out and away, the batters are doing a great job of reading it where they're not like it's not tempting enough for them. And I think that's kind of what he's been struggling in. And also his bread and butter pitch last year was his changeup. He only threw 6 of them against St. Louis there. So I know we're talking how will Framber Valdez kind of adjust to the changeup, being so dominant last year. Well, he hasn't really thrown it a lot this year.
You meant Blanco. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Blanco. Who did I say?
You said Valdez, so I was like,
my fault. It's because when I talk, I just get ahead and I forget. I think I know what I'm talking about. My brain gets all mixed up there. But yeah, for Blanco, we've been talking about how he will adjust. But do you think is he losing trust in his changeup a little bit, or you think he needs to throw it a little bit more?
It could be a combination of both. It just depends on his outing. It depends on the feel. If it's moving and it's solid, then man, you're throwing that pitch almost all the time.
Yeah.
If it's hanging and it's staying on the upper part of the strike zone where hitters can do damage, I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing that pitch all the time to, some of these hitters, especially like Bo Bichette and Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and all these all-star players, man. And it's like I said, it's just a combination of both, I would say, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, but I think for me personally, for Blanco to return to form, I think he's going to have to, throw and command that change up a little bit. Like if he's in the bullpen, that's what he should be. I mean, if I were him, that's what I would be working on right there, right? But it just helps that fastball because again, Blanco doesn't have a Hunter Brown fastball where he can throw 98 mile per hour. Like Hunter Brown can get away with like leaving a ball middle because just of the velocity he has, but Ronald Blanco can't. He doesn't have that luxury. He needs to be controlling. And I know he's trying to hit the top corners of the strike zone, but he just hasn't been making that pitch deceptive. It's like when he's missing by a lot. And I think that's most of his pitches there. But again, I feel like if he can clean that up, I think that'll be better. But this is another test for No Blanco. This is a great Blue Jays lineup. This is, again, could be a playoff team. They have the personnel to be a playoff team, right? I think if he struggles again with command, getting out of innings and stuff like that, I think Joe Espada scratching his head, that Tanner Brown's scratching his head. I know I know you mentioned earlier about getting a reliever, but you might be looking at the starter, especially if Lance McCullers, hopefully he stays healthy, but Christian Javier, there's still, I mean, I feel like Astros fans should be optimistic he can return, but it also has a possibility to end up what happened last year when Lance McCullers was supposed to return, Luis Garcia was supposed to return, and it didn't happen. So that's a possibility too, right? So yes, you have Gusto who's been eating up some innings there. McCullers coming back, but do you think Tanner Brown is looking at pitching at the trade deadline? And again, I know it's early, but it's just a conversation we could start.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows you can't have a lot of pitching. You're always going to need pitching no matter what. The Astros got Yusei Kikuchi. They've gotten Justin Verlander. Yeah. Every trade deadline, I feel like the Astros have gone to starter. And like you mentioned, no one's not going to know if J.P. France is going to come back and be in the same form that he was in the beginning. Nobody knows that Christian Javier is not going to have a setback. We don't know the status of Luis Garcia as of right now. Lance McCullers Jr., which we'll have an update on him in just a second. We don't know how he's going to bounce back coming into after being off, not pitching for so many games in an actual regular season game. Because think about it, Spencer Strider just came back, and now he's on the IL again for the Braves, just as an example. So I can see where you see that part, but you do got a guy in AAA that's been pitching really well for the Space Cowboys and AJ Blueball. Maybe he gets his chance. He did represent the Astros in the Rising. I don't know what the Futures game last year in Arlington. So maybe giving him a shot. But it just depends too with Blanco. Going back to that changeup, maybe teams have adjusted to it. Maybe the scouting reports when the opposing team goes and looks at him, they're like, "Hey, this guy throws a lot of changeups, and if he doesn't have his changeup, look for this pitch. If he has his changeup, sit on it." Like there's just different ways. Scouting reports, the feel for it, the command for it, and just for him too. If he likes it, then why not throw it at the same time too? You just don't want to continue pounding the zone with changeups and basically letting these hitters know, like, hey, I'm throwing changeups every time I could throw.
Yeah, I think I think his best pitch so far has been his curveball, and that's because he's kind of struggling with locating both the fastball and the slider. So I mean, I think once he figures that out, you know, but the matter is if and when, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll move on to Bassett, and then I'll talk about the other two, and then I want to have a conversation about this rotation. But Chris Bassett, a guy that the Astros have seen a lot, is starting off pretty good. He's 2-0 with a 0.77 ERA. His last start against the Atlanta Braves, he pitched 5 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. Chris Bassett is a guy that has a 7-pitch arsenal. He throws a sinker, cutter, curveball, split finger, sweeper, fastball, slider. So when you talk about the kitchen sink, Chris Bassett throws it all. So now, and he's not afraid to throw any of his pitches at any time. I know some pitches, for example, some pitchers throw a curveball, but yet only throw it to, left-handers and right-handers. Some pitchers have changeups, only throw it to this. Well, he does a really good job mixing it to no matter who's on the base. A big thing has been his 2 velocity fastballs. And I say velocity is like low 90s. Again, Chris Bassett's not going to have a blow by you fastball, but has a lot of movement. His opponent batting average on his cutter is 0.63 and his sinker is 1.82, and those are the 2 pitches he throws the most. So he's doing a really good job of movement and locating that stuff. And just to show you how great Chris Bassett's been this season, he ranks in the 98th percentile in pitching run value and fastball run value, and ranks in 94th percentile in the breaking run value. So basically, all his pitches are working for Chris Bassett this year. However, go ahead.
Oh, real quick, I was just going to add on. I thought you were done with Bassett, but just to add on, there's a good chance for one particular player to get rolling, and that's Jordan Alvarez. Jordan Alvarez has hit really well against Chris Bassett. So just want to throw that out there real quick.
No, yeah, I also basically touch on some of the stuff is that Chris Bassett, the Astros have seen Chris Bassett a lot with the A's, with Toronto, right? So it's not a new pitcher. However, the way he's just moving his stuff, has been effective. But you're right. This is a team that is familiar with his stuff, knows his movement, knows how it works. So it could be a different showing for Chris Bassett. It has a possibility for that. Wednesday's game's a 6:40 game. Bowden Francis versus Ryan Gusto. Gusto comes in with a 2-1 record, 3.18 ERA. Versus San Diego, like Lorenzo just said, 5 innings pitched, 9 hits, 2 runs, 0 walks, 2 strikeouts. He threw 68 pitches that outing, 41 fastballs, 5 cutters, 6 curveballs, 4 changeups, 8 sweepers, 4 sinkers. Now, he did a great job of mixing all his pitches. I know his fastball is going to be like to set the tone, but he really did a good job of throwing his whole arsenal and getting these guys off balance with that. He also did a great job of hitting the top corner on his fastball. That's what Ronel Blanco is trying to do. However, Ryan Gusto is locating a lot better on the top end than Ronel Blanco, and that could be the reason why for his effectiveness. And he also ranks 89th percentile in his fastball run value, so it's been pretty good. Here we're going against Bowden Francis, who's 2-2 with a 3.13 ERA. Versus Seattle, he pitched 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 5 pitch mix, fastball, split finger, curveball, slider, sinker. And now he's gonna be focused more on fastball, split finger, curveball. Like Ryan Gusto, he doesn't have a fast fastball. It's like 92, 693. I would say him and Gusto are similar pitchers in the fact that they're gonna focus on they're going to throw a lot of fastballs, but they're going to count on the secondary pitches to complement that a little bit. And I think with Bowden Francis, who was a reliever last year, kind of turned starter, his velocity is down on most of his pitches too. So, again, could be an advantage Astros for that.
Yeah, that should be a good matchup between Gusto. And it's shocking looking at that right now, 3.18 ERA from this rookie, and he's done really well. I'm interested to see what Joe Espada is going to do. First outing was 72 pitches. This outing, I mean, the second start was 68 pitches. I'm interested to see if he's going to kind of push him, to go a little bit longer, try to give him some trust to go into the sixth inning because I think he's only pitched through five, if I'm not mistaken, from his first start, but in the second start for sure for five. See if he could go to the sixth inning. It just depends too on the batting order. If they're going to the third time around this order, and of course, you make adjustments your during the game, and of course, these players have the iPads to help them out to see what they can do better. And like you mentioned, Gusto's just done a really good job hitting his locations. Especially his fastball. His fastball has been his best pitch in his arsenal.
Yeah. Now, what I want to start a conversation is Ryan Gusto has another test. I think he had San Diego as first test. I think he passed. I think he did well. Now he has Toronto now. I know Lance McCullers on the verge of coming back. I think he has one more rehab outing, and then we can talk about him being back. If Ronel Blanco struggles again, and Ryan Gusto pitches decent, I mean, he doesn't have to great, but decent. Because as of right now, I think what a lot of people think is once McCullers comes back, Gusto, it's the odd man out, unfortunately, unless they go to a 6-man rotation, right? But if they don't go to a 6-man rotation, Lance McCullers is healthy enough to come back. Do you think Ryan Gusto stays in the rotation and Ronel Blanco goes to the bullpen? Or what do you think how that would work out?
So we can see a split, I can see it. Because if Joe Espada's not letting Gusto through, let's say, max 80 pitches plus, and not allowing him go to the sixth inning, you can have a piggyback. That could be Blanco piggybacking off of him, or versa. Whoever goes, and Blanco starts, Gusto could be piggybacking off of him, and then it just on the game too how everything is. Is Blanco pitching really good? Is he not pitching good? And of course, that's when you'll put Gusto there to eat some innings. And like I said, vice versa between both of those guys. I say if Gusto continues to pitch the way he's been pitching, and of course this is a tough matchup for him going against the Blue Jays. Yeah. I don't think he's going to back down from it because that's just not. I feel like every starter mentality is going to go out there and try to shove as much as possible. But if Gusto continues to pitch the way he's been pitching, I think he's still on the starting rotation when McCullers comes back. And I'm not saying he's going to be the odd man out. It's going to be Blanco. And it just depends too. If Blanco can adjust, if he can, get rolling and make some adjustments in his starts, try to break down that walk rate, because I believe that's killing him. The pitch down, going 20 plus pitches in two, and I'd say the same thing for Gusto does that sometimes as well. But you're going to go with the hotter hand, and that's going to be Gusto continuously pitch the way he's been pitching as his two starts. Though,
go ahead. Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry,
I will say there could be a 6-man rotation soon, especially in May. It depends on Les McCullers Jr.'s next rehab start, which it could be coming this week. Depending on how he goes in that, he could potentially be coming back into the Houston starting rotation. And he does that, it's go to a 6-man rotation regardless of the month of May. I'm looking at it right now. The Astros play 17 straight games from May 9th to the 20th. So that's going to be a 6-man rotation regardless. It just depends who's going to be hot. Is Goose going to continue pitching really well? Is Ronel Blanco going to make a jump and then maybe them 2 starts before it goes to the 17 straight game throughout that whole month? Can he be the guy there? Or, like I mentioned, it could be a split between both of them, allowing Blanco or Gusto start and whoever relieves after. So that's how I see it. I think, long story short, it's going to be the upper hand. Whoever has the upper hand, whoever's hot, pitching really well as a starter in these next 2 games is going to be the guy in that 5 spot. Because, too, we don't know an update on Spencer Arrighetti, which that could be coming along this first week of May, coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that being the hot, like the hot hand, too. I think what's stopping me from saying Ryan Gusto is just his pitch count. He threw 72, 68 this time. I think when Ryan Gusto can throw 80 consistently, I think that's when he can make a really great case of being a starter. But as of right now, I could see Blanco, but with a thin margin, like very thin. It's possible, but I just think Ronel Blanco has to pitch better in order after that May outing, because I did see it too. It's like it's a long stretch, and when you have 17 straight games, your manager's counting on you to at least throw five or six, because if it happens again, like Minnesota, where two pitchers go 2 2/3, or not even get out the first third inning, that's just going to affect the rest of the series, because they don't have the luxury for those off days during that stretch. So they might get pushed a little bit more than they're used to, right? But I think if Fernando Blanco doesn't want to lose his spot, talk about maybe after that 17 stretch, maybe May, June, he has to pitch better, because Gusto's on his heels, honestly.
I mean, not to mention too, in June they have a 13 games playing straight baseball that month as well. And this is the only month in April that they're having an off day in each week. When we get closer to May, they only have only May there'll be 17 straight games. In June they'll have 13 straight games. Of course, in July you have that break of the All-Star weekend and All-Star week, I may say.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, if Blanco doesn't want to give up his start, like you said, like his starting role, he has to pitch really good in these next two starts. And if he doesn't, he's basically putting himself down, and and it depends too on Gusto. Don't get me wrong. If Gusto does pitch good, and if he doesn't pitch good, then that's going to be a tough position, I would say, for the coaching staff. Who do you feel comfortable with? And more than likely, I think they might feel comfortable with Blanco, because Blanco has pitched a full regular season. Gusto, still rookie, still learning, having to make adjustments. So there could be an upper hand on Blanco on that part, and it depends too what the news of Spencer Arrighetti comes to be. It does Lance McCullers Jr. return really, and in a good position, as well as your other guys that could be coming after the All-Star break in JP France and Christian Javier.
Yeah. Okay. It's going to be interesting how everything plays out, but I think the Astros are in a good place mid-June. Like after July, I think if everybody comes out healthy, they have a potential to get their starting rotation at full strength, and that's what they anticipate, and should be a good sign. Go ahead.
And not to mention too, injuries do happen in this game, so we don't know if there will be an injury down the line with, if Framber Valdez gets hurt, Hunter Brown gets hurt, Hayden Wisniewski gets hurt. Like, that's the thing about baseball. Nobody's gonna know if somebody's gonna get hurt, and that's why I mentioned you can't complain about not having too many pitchers in this rotation, in the bullpen, whatever. They could rely on their farm system with AJ Blueball or Colton
Gordon.
And that's another guy. So you can rely on them so much, because they've already. I feel like they've done that this season really much going into the season. They put Cam Smith on the opening day roster. They brought up Ryan Gusto really quick. Logan Van Wise, another guy that they brought up. So they've done a really good job, and credit to them three guys. They've done a really good job holding their positions.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see who. It's gonna have to have some odd man outs, because there's gonna be some injured players who are close to coming back, and I guess we can start the injury update with Caleb Ward. He pitched with Sugarland Sunday night. Pitched scoreless one in an inning in the third. He's now made 5 appearances, pitched 4.4 in the third on rehab assignment, or could be activated as early as tomorrow. So we'll see what the Astros decide to do. Lance McCullers Jr., he was supposed to have he was scheduled to start for Corpus Christi on Saturday. However, he was scratched due to a stomach flu. I think it's a virus that's been going down, but it's not pretty. He had to have an IV. I think the Dodgers, Mookie Betts caused a similar virus earlier in the season too, something like this, where he lost like a lot of weight too. But
like 20 pounds.
I think I wasn't sure the exact number. I was supposed to but I think and it was about that range, right? McCullers will throw a bullpen tomorrow or Wednesday, and can make a rehab start this weekend. He's already had 3 rehab starts. I think Lance McCullers was on pace to make 1 or 2 more. I think after this bullpen, I think he might be ready after this one, just depending how he is, comes out healthy on it. And I think what you're looking for Lance McCullers is just have a feel for his pitches and to come out healthy. I think if he can do that, he might be in this Astros rotation pretty soon.
Yeah, the target date for him to return was against KC at Kauffman Stadium in City, Missouri. and that
Yeah.
is the last weekend of that
Yeah.
is on the 25th and the 26th. So basically, after this homestand against the Blue Jays, Dana Brown were really hoping he'd be pitching that, but if he's gonna make a start this coming weekend, I highly doubt that's gonna happen. So more
That's
than likely, you could look at him in the White Sox or the
that's about to say.
Brew Series.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the White Sox either. So that's what I was thinking too.
And we're not saying the White Sox are not a good team, but I think that's a good team to put him in the beginning just to, come slowly into the start of 25 because I'm pretty sure he'll be on a pitch count more than likely. Probably be 75 pitches, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes out great for Lance McCullers. And then Sean Dubin was scheduled to begin a rehab assignment last week at AAA Sugarland, but instead was sidelined with a sprayed left ankle. And I believe he was catching fly balls in the outfield and he sprained his ankle there. So another freak accident for the Astros there.
What is happening? Pitchers are athletes, but at the same time too, you're recovering. You just can't go out there and start. It's like diving for balls, but I know they're not. Obviously, pitchers are not.
Yeah, but
what goes to is the stomach.
It's the what? I'm sorry.
The stomach flu. I'm sorry, my connection got cut off. The stomach flu. No, it's poisoning like the Yankees.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, very interesting. But a good start for this Astros team, winning 3 out of their last 4 games at home. They look to do that against Chris Bassett and Bo Francis, like you mentioned. Angel. They're going to have Ronel Blanco pitch, Ryan Gusto. So, I think this is a competition for between both these guys to impress the coaching staff to see who they can rely on going into whenever McCullers comes back and who could be the odd man out, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, and they have another test the following week too with Detroit. So it's, one of them has to step up. We'll see how it is.
Yeah, I don't think pitching against KC will probably be Wozniacki, Framber, and Hunter. So like I mentioned, it's probably more than going to be Detroit.
Yeah.
For both those. So should be fun for them, though. That's a little added motivation, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but this is the end of our show. Continue to follow us at Full Steam Ahead on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We've been putting a lot of shorts out there, a lot of reels on our social media. So if you haven't done so, if you haven't followed us, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button because a lot of our majority of our audience is on Twitter. Make sure you go hit that button, hit that subscribe button as well. And you don't want to see our beautiful faces. We understand. We truly understand that. And you just want to listen to our beautiful voices. Well, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you go give us a rate, a review, send us some feedback, all that good stuff. And 2 final thoughts. What you got? Anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, we had a great crowd coming out today. Thank you for sticking with us and listening to us. I know a lot of you either coming back from the game already or, hearing us on Apple or Spotify as, you're driving back, but just appreciate your support. And, tune in next week as well for the recap of the Blue Jay series and, just tune in twice a week and we'll be there.
Yeah, I don't know about next week, dog. It's probably going to be Thursday or Wednesday night more than likely.
It's fine. Thursday. Let's do it.
I know, but you said next week, they're going to have to wait another whole week.
Oh, my fault.
He's tired. He had that 3-day weekend too much for him.
I am tired. I have to go right now, too.
Nice. Until then, y'all stay safe. Have a great week. We'll talk to y'all more than likely Wednesday night and give you that recap of that series and get you the preview of that KC series, which is a good team, but they've been struggling as well.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, we'll talk to y'all soon and y'all be safe.